The Hunger Games world is almost back with Sunrise on the Reaping releasing March 18th, and we are so excited for it. This time, it's going to be about Haymitch and the Hunger Games he had to endure. We are expecting a story on how this underdog tribute survived the arena, outsmarted the career tributes, and maybe even what led him to being the sad drunk we know him as. But it's not just about Haymitch's fight for survival. In a recent interview, Suzanne Collins spoke on the themes of the book. Join us as we break them down, discussing survival, power, and propaganda in Sunrise on the Reaping.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about the Hunger Games. Specifically, we're going to be covering Sunrise on the Reaping, which is obviously the new book that's going to be coming out here on March 18th. We did some research on what we should expect from the book, and today we wanted to share that with you. I think the first thing that I'd like to talk about is what of Haymitch's backstory made him so successful in the Hunger Games, despite him not being trained like a career. And I'm hoping it's something that is both interesting, but not just the same thing as Katniss is.
Yeah, because we know that they both grew up in the Seam.
Exactly, and I'm thinking something along the lines of is he going to be a hunter? Is he going to have the means to fight because of his ability to hunt? I really hope it's not just that. I don't know, what if he's a boxer or something? I don't know.
Yeah, because we know that they have sports in their schools.
Mm-hmm.
Because Peeta was a wrestler and Katniss did track.
Yeah, and from the information that we already know of it, he in particular was an individual that took down a couple of careers. And I'm curious of if that's more of an intellectual takedown or if it was more of a physical beatdown. And I know that he, at least from what we've heard so far, he did make a point of teaming up with others to be able to do stuff. And I'm really just curious to see if he's just so strong at something or if he's just that kind of clever.
I definitely think that it leans towards the clever, but obviously physical strength has a lot to do with it because it appeared that he won in hand-to-hand combat with the careers.
Exactly. So I think that'll be really cool. I think it'll add another level to Haymitch. Obviously in the first book, he's kind of just a drunk and he's really just a means of being able to keep Peeta and Katniss alive. You don't really get a whole lot of them, though. At least what makes him good.
I think what makes him good is hidden below all the liquor.
Exactly. And I think that'd be so cool to finally be able to get down to his point of view pre-liquor, right?
Yeah, and I think it makes it even more sad that he was a drunk for so long because obviously he was very clever and that was clearly dulled because of the liquor. So we were saying that he was also from the Seam like Katniss, but another thing that makes him like Katniss is that he took out Tesserae.
Yeah, because he also had a family to provide for because his dad died at an early age from a coal explosion or something like that. So Katniss and Gale, he is the provider of the family, right? In the first book, I remember Katniss always talking about how resourceful she thought Haymitch was and how similar they think. How she was always in her head about, oh, I need to do this because this is what Haymitch would want me to do. And I think Suzanne Collins is a rather good writer, so I'm excited to see how she can make them the same while also making it different enough to keep it interesting.
Well, I have complete faith in Suzanne Collins because she was able to write two totally different characters from their points of view. She wrote Katniss, obviously, and then she wrote President Snow. And President Snow couldn't have been further from Katniss.
Since you started the conversation with President Snow, this is going to be the first book that we really get where we have his backstory beforehand. I'm kind of curious to see if that plays a role. Is President Snow going to play a major role in this? Is he going to be particularly divisive in the creation of the second quarter quell where they double the amount? Is there going to be a reason for that?
Yeah, I definitely think so because as you could see in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, he's a lot more rash than he is in the later books, in the later trilogy. And I would assume that's because of his older age and wisdom. He knows to rein himself back and to not just kill everybody who he gets upset with. I have a feeling we are going to find an in-between those two, where he's newly president And I think that makes sense because we do know from the original trilogy that Haymitch's family and girlfriend were murdered by the Capitol in some way. And simply for using the force field to make his final kill, which I definitely think that shows an in-between between President Snow's original rage and his final more toned back and more calculated way of doing things.
Absolutely. The thing that Katniss and Peeta did was way worse to the Capitol and Panem as a whole than what Haymitch did.
So speaking of things being different during these games, Haymitch will not have a mentor during these games because the only prior victor of District 12 was Lucy Gray, and we all know what may or may not have happened to her.
Regardless, she will not be there to mentor him.
Yes. Yeah, but you have to imagine, like, what a steep disadvantage he'll be at without a mentor. Like, he was the saving grace of Katniss and Peeta. Like, without his getting of sponsors, they would have died. And he won't have that at all. So he will be completely on his own in the arena and before the arena.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. The sponsors played a major role in Katniss's being able to survive that. I don't see a way that he can easily get through hard bits without something like that.
Yeah, and that kind of rolls into, like, what do you think his tactic will be in the games? Because based on my research, it seems like the arena is mountainous, snow-capped mountains, and they turn into volcanoes, perhaps. My idea is he's a lot more combative than Katniss ever was.
What do you think his score is going to be?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea because Katniss always talked about how some people deliberately hide their abilities during scoring, so they may, like, have a low score.
I really feel like Haymitch is rather calculated. I feel like he's gonna make his point total really low.
Yeah, and he's hard-headed that way.
I totally agree. I think that he's going to win it by being devious, being clever, rather than being strong. And I also think that because one thing that we do know about the book so far is that he did have alliances, but it was with people from District 12.
Oh yes, one of the other girls that was chosen.
Exactly. And I was thinking about this earlier, that I almost feel that the number of people in the Hunger Games, which if we didn't clarify is double for this one, I believe the increased amount of people is actually going to be a good thing for Haymitch.
Do you think so?
I think if he has like a low number or something like that, he's just going to be able to hide away and get away unnoticed. So I think that was kind of the main intrigue that we have regarding Haymitch and how the Hunger Games are going to operate and some of the political parts of it. But I would like to cover some of the themes that Suzanne Collins has said that this book is going to be about.
So in a recent interview, Suzanne Collins said, "With Sunrise on the Reaping, I was inspired by David Hume's idea of implicit submission and, in his word, the easiness with which the many are governed by the few."
So that was the first bit that I kind of wanted to cover. So this feels really kind of 1984-y.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's very Orwellian of her to say. Very 1984, very much Animal Farm. The idea of an oligarchy where the many are governed by the few, I mean, it's been covered a million times. I wonder what take she's going to have on it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if she can have a unique twist on it instead of it just sounding like the same Orwellian type of deal that we've gotten with everything else.
Then to continue, Collins said in a statement, "The story also lent itself to a deeper dive into the use of propaganda and the power of those who control the narrative. The question, real or not real, seems more pressing to me every day."
Again, very Orwellian, very 1984 about the misinformation, propaganda, how easily people are manipulated just by what the oligarchs are saying. I almost wonder if she's covering this stuff because of the recent popularity of 1984.
Yeah, I don't know, but the idea that she's going to be covering propaganda and like, that was such a huge part of Mockingjay. I'm really excited to see how she takes it from there.
From what we know about Haymitch, I think it could be good. I think it could be an interesting twist on this typical Orwellian theme that we've heard a million times.
With all that being said, we are looking forward to the release of Sunrise on the Reaping, March 18th. You guys can expect a video from us very soon after that, describing the book, talking about it, talking about the themes, and basically what we thought about it.
Well, anyway, I hope you found this conversation interesting. We just wanted to share kind of our thoughts. If you have some interesting thoughts, please share them down in the comments. I'd love to see what you think, and maybe you guys are more right than us.
I think that's it for today. Bye!
See ya.